Farewell for now, Black Ops 4, the beta has wrapped up. Thought I would make one last video summarizing what went down on Weekend 2, the new stuff, the changes they made, and what of my review may have changed. Not gonna revisit every point or any of the big stuff, because in general, how I feel about things like the Specialist isn't going to change, but they did improve a few things. Diving into new additions first though, they surprised everyone with the Heist mode, which was immediately compared to Counter-Strike because it's a 5v5 elimination mode with a buy menu and a round-to-round economy system starting with a pistol round, but aside from that it plays very differently. There are no attackers and defenders, just a bag of cash that both teams try to grab and extract. You can also revive downed teammates, pretty cool feature. Hopefully you got a chance to try it out. It is very unique, a refreshing mode to see in a COD game, but it is another mode that is way more fun played with a squad, with friends. So overall, I had some fun trying it out, but I don't expect to be playing very much of it or any of the semi-competitive modes they're introducing. I know on the live stream they said they didn't intend for this to be a competitive mode. They consider it a party mode, like a gun game type of thing. I can see where they're coming from, but I don't know, maybe they just wanted to say that to shield themselves from too much criticism about how it isn't well balanced enough, because I think any mode that limits respawning will naturally get a bit sweatier, because when you only have one life, of course you want to play it smart and win your fights to stay alive and not have to sit there and spectate. If I were to change a few things about it, I don't agree with how the extraction point spawns in. It has no marker on the map until much later when the helicopter gets there, and oftentimes it's right near one of the team's spawns. So one team has it on their side of the map, and they have the information on where it is. That's like a double unearned advantage. So if you can take just enough map control to snatch that cash bag and quickly retreat to the point that you already know the location of and your team can already be set up defending, you basically win that round easy. That extraction point should probably spawn in later in a way that gives both teams equal information and equal opportunity to get there and control it. There's also the armor meta. Now to be clear, this has nothing to do with my dislike for armor in regular creative class. In general, I don't have a problem with being able to purchase armor in Heist. Needing to buy it makes it a more logical part of the game. You can safely assume that most people will buy armor, so that's not really a problem. However, it makes things kinda boring, since you typically want to always rebuy the best armor available to you. There goes 2k sunk into the heavy armor, so you rarely get to mess around with the different perk combinations or save up for a kill streak, unless you put yourself at a big disadvantage every round, or manage to farm a bunch of cash reviving teammates. I think I would prefer if you could only buy the heavy and medium armor one time in a game, so you have to choose when to do that, and after that you can only keep rebuying the light armor. Then you could see some of the other stuff in play, but I haven't fully thought out the balance ramifications of that, just an idea. And final thing, the round should really end when one team is eliminated. There's no point wasting everyone's time making the winning team finish extracting the cash, because you win even if you don't. It isn't the same thing as defusing a bomb in S&D, where you might not have enough time to get to it and you could still lose. So just award the cash that's in the bag to the winning team and skip the whole delivering part. Anyway, cool mode. Clearly they figured, hey, why not make some multiplayer modes using some of what we developed for Blackout? Stuff like the 3 tiers of armor, the lootable health and ammo, the crawling and reviving. Wouldn't be surprising to see some of that shared with Blackout. Alright, I'll go through a few things in their beta recap notes that they posted for Weekend 2. I will link all 3 recaps below if you want to see everything they mentioned, but I'll focus on some of what I covered in the review to update what I said. They did adjust that dark red flinch color to make it a bit lighter, which is great. I guess I wasn't the only one to dislike that. And they did eliminate the bunny hopping, which is good. Then they also reduced the jump height and the slide speed and distance. I've seen most people seem to think that they went too far with that. I'm honestly alright with either slide distance. I think the new one is fine, and we're just feeling a bit of withdrawal from how it was before, but I kinda like that you don't have to be sliding all the time to get around quickly. It's meant to be used occasionally to slide into cover or into a gunfight, and if you do want the faster, longer sliding, you can use the dexterity perk, so I'm fine with that change. In regards to gear, yeah, we have to get back into armor a little, but I promise it won't be long. Well, first, they fixed a couple issues with armor, blocking explosive damage and flinch. Yeah, that's a good thing. They also made it work a little differently in how it blocks damage, but in terms of how much damage it blocks, it hasn't really changed. At least now you get an extra 25 score for killing an armor user, as a little sorry you had to deal with that. Yeah, I'll never understand why they want it to be in the game so badly. I have read people's points for armor and made an effort to seriously consider them, but I have yet to see a compelling argument for it being there. It's going to continue to be a rather pointless annoyance to me, and especially for snipers and shotguns. Despite it maybe being the worst gear to use, I know it isn't good. If you're a decent player, you'll be much better off rushing around with a stim shot, or regardless of your skill level, I think you might be better off with equipment charge to abuse your specialist more, and those two things were improved even further for Weekend 2. Same with the ComSec device for easier streaks, and there's always the acoustic sensor for the awareness benefits. So, whatever, I'll never get it or like it, but I'll get used to it, and get used to going for headshots, which I guess I should be doing anyway for this game. Maybe that's all they wanted it to be, training wheels getting you to go for headshots. Whatever, don't need to talk about armor anymore. They did make equipment cooldowns longer across the board, except the combat axe, which is good. If you spend a point replacing your specialist equipment with an axe, you should be able to use it. Aside from that, I'll always be happy to hear less equipment spam. Thing is, they wrote it wrong, and that really scared me at first, when they said, "We are increasing equipment cooldown rates across the board." To me, increasing the rate means making it faster, but they did actually mean increasing the cooldown time, so that's good. There was some perk balancing, and I mostly agree with it. I do like that Cold-Blooded is a bit less effective in delaying AI streak targeting. That was one issue I had with the generally weak streaks. I was hoping at the very least that Cold-Blooded would be a late unlock. The other big streak issue being the very indoor maps, but they couldn't exactly change that. At least now Cold-Blooded will help you get to cover, but will not make you immune. Speaking of streaks, a whole bunch of buffs for them to not be so terrible. Now you can see the devastating score streaks in action. Like in this clip I recorded, you can see the strike team now has improved weapon accuracy and behavior updates to seek out enemies more quickly. Back to the drawing board on that one. Jokes aside, plenty of much needed changes here. When I called in strafe runs after the pathing update, I typically got 2 to 3 kills each time instead of 0, so that was nice. Maybe still not worthy of being such a high streak, but I feel like I would have gotten much more on a more outdoor map. And I'm sure they'll use their stats to keep balancing the streaks until people are averaging the desired number of kills. The only thing I have left to say is with the strike team. They increased the health day 1, and then they said they doubled the health on the last day to help them survive and react when taking fire from multiple enemies. I don't like that at all. I stand by thinking they should have lower health, but there should be more of them. A strike team of 2 is super lame. Like, is there some kind of technical limitation preventing them from dropping in a squad of 5? I would much prefer that over giving them crazy juggernaut health. When you have human-shaped soldiers moving around at full speed, their health shouldn't be that far away from regular players, in my opinion. And if they had more normal health, then they should also not be affected by Cold-Blooded, because that seems dumb. And I can't confirm that they are, but they are an AI-controlled streak, and when I had Cold-Blooded on here, they didn't shoot me, so I assume that's what happened. I think if the streak doesn't rely on an IR targeting system, Cold-Blooded shouldn't make you invisible. But okay then. They also had tons of weapon balancing, cool stuff, but the weapons are bound to change even more before release, so I'll leave that to you to read if you're interested. In general, more SMG recoil, yeah, good change. More assault rifle mobility, fair enough, and for some reason the Paladin dealt less damage to the left arm than the right, but they got that fixed up. Final thing I'll touch on to amend the things I've said about the game. If I were to update my specialist ranking in terms of what I typically used, now after tons of changes have been made to them and after much more playtime, I think I had Recon fairly high, but I'd move him up there with Crash for me. I pretty much always go Crash or Recon since their abilities and equipment are quick to use and very good. Nomad is still a decent lazy option if those two are taken, or if we have no Seraph in an objective mode and I want to take winning the game seriously, then I might go with that to set the spawn beacon, although that thing is much more reasonable now. They reduced the positive influence, meaning it favors safer conditions a bit more over spawning you closer to the beacon, and they also reduced the max time to 25 seconds and gave it a max cap of 10 spawns before it self-destructs, so some good changes there. But they also buffed up Ajax's shield, which I already thought was crazy good, and Prophet's Tempest is now very annoying with the faster ADS, lower cooldown, and it lasts a long time. And Firebreak's Reactor Core, I think they buffed too much. It feels like it's on the level of being a main weapon when it's only his equipment. It deals, I think, too much damage now, and it has a larger range. When you combine that with how disorienting it is to be in the middle of it, making it difficult to locate the source, and that it works through walls, and that you can't heal after, and that you seem to deal half damage to the Firebreak who's using it, there's that weird glass breaking sound and no hit marker when shooting him. Yeah, you do have to have good positioning to use it, but I think they went overboard with that one. It doesn't need to be that lethal. I think it should be focused on the disorientation part, allowing your team to come in and take people out, or if they don't, then at least you've dealt some damage that can't be healed off. Making it kill as quick as it did after those changes was a bad thing, I think. Finally, Torque, I know I had listed last in that video, which, in terms of what I personally pick, is, I think, still accurate, but I totally acknowledge that's because I don't play the modes where he excels the most, and I often have a launcher which one-shots the wire no problem, but they did buff up his barricade damage and duration, and reduced the razor wire cooldown. He can be a thorn in people's sides, as they said in their post. I'm aware he's not a bad pick by any means. Well, that's all I'll highlight from Weekend 2. I remain most excited for seeing Blackout in September. I don't have any other Black Ops 4 related content planned until then. I had a couple other ideas for things to take a look at, but realistically, no reason to dive into specifics that are likely to change before anyone is able to play the game again. But we'll see if they want to drop some intel on us in the coming weeks. If there's something cool, I'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.